All right, welcome to the Real Estate Growth Network podcast. We just had an amazing conversation with our momentum group, and the biggest thing was wrapped around the 5 reasons why you would want to be a listing agent or why you would even want to double down on being a listing agent. Chase, what did we talk about today that kind of hit home?
Well, I think, yeah, if you already are a listing agent, definitely listen to this. It's going to just solidify your decision. And if you haven't decided to do that yet, we're breaking down all the benefits that people, you may or may not know what these are, and you may or may not understand how this could actually be the career path you want to take, or like we said, triple down on. If you're already a strong listing agent, it's like, where do you have opportunity to create your business and live the life you want to live through becoming a listing agent?
I work with and work through a lot of listing agents. So do you. And there was a lot of things that we talked about today that were just great reminders that even I forgot. Like there is a lot of benefit to being a listing agent. So even if you already are one, there's going to be a lot of good information inside of today's topic.
Hope you guys enjoy it.
And here is a real estate titan that is pushing the limits on the status quo.
And it took years and years of failing to get where I am today.
You're like, whoa, where you actually get the most clarity.
That was kind of one of those pivotal moments when I started building a business.
I spent a lot of time becoming an expert salesperson.
Good morning. Welcome to the first day of our series, which is prospecting for sellers. And just as a reminder, today we're going to be talking about the top 5 reasons to becoming a listing agent. If you're already a listing agent, this should just be the top 5 reasons why you want to double down on being a listing agent. Chase, morning. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I think it'd be good for, we got this going on YouTube, and some people might be listening via podcast. Why don't you tell them a little bit about who you are, Brent?
Yeah, awesome. First of all, if you are listening in, this is our Monday growth call. This is streamed live to YouTube. Welcome. My name's Brent Hanson. I got into real estate in 2014. Before that, I was a mortgage lender for about 7 years. I worked in a cubicle, sold nationwide mortgages, 300 to 800 dials a day. So it was like dark cubicle. I was pale white every time I left the office. I looked like a vampire. I worked 6 days a week, most of those 7 years. So it was a welcomed outside world to me when I got into real estate. Started real estate in 2014, slowly grew the team and to where we are today. We close about $200 million in real estate. And now we coach and lead people across the nation on better ways to sell real estate. So that's extremely important to me. My biggest driver is my purpose, which is to inspire wholeness in others. So I'm a real big believer in becoming the CEO of your life. So that's me. Chase, why don't you take a second, introduce yourself, and then we can jump into what momentum is.
Yeah. So before I got into real estate, I was working at the Home Depot, actually making $12 an hour, and I was married, still married, but married, 2 kids, 22 years old, and just broke. Someone, there's another longer story I won't get into, but basically someone's like, we should get our real estate licenses. And I was so desperate. I literally was like, what's that? And looked into it that night and signed up. And that was 2005. So this will be my 21st year in real estate. In that time, I guess I've sold over 4,000 homes now, and combined, I think we've sold over 6,500 homes and $2 billion in real estate. My mission is to maximize the potential in everyone in my world. So, being a real estate coach for the last 12 years, it's awesome to be able to help people reach their potential. And, so many people in the last 21 years of me selling real estate have helped me save a lot of time and make a lot more money and live a life a lot more on purpose. So it's exciting to me for us to be able to put the Real Estate Growth Network together and pour back into the real estate community. So we hope you guys are getting a lot of value out of it, and we'll continue to bring it every day.
So Chase, real quick, just for the people on the YouTube live and anybody who's just not familiar with the full scale of what momentum is, let's talk first why we started momentum, why it's important to us, and then I'll kind of go through like what it actually is.
Well, real estate's super lonely. I mean, I remember, in those 21 years, I've gone through the highs and lows of real estate, and I've probably failed as much or more than 99.9% of realtors out there. And I remember even selling a lot of real estate. When I was by myself selling 75 to 80 homes in a year, it was so lonely. It's such a lonely business. And it wasn't until I started to build my team originally that I realized, like, holy cow, this is so much better to do it with other people. We found that having consistent meetings, being able to help each other, answer questions, even just living through shared experiences with someone else is so powerful. And so that was one of the number one reasons. It's like a big advantage for us in having a team, Brent, is the ability for all of us to get together, share ideas, and help each other out. That's one of the main reasons we started it. Why don't you tell them exactly what it is, though?
Well, before that, I think the biggest thing is I'm a big believer. I don't know if you guys know who Wayne Dyer is, but I'm a big believer in one of the things he said, which is that your morning is the rudder of the day. And if you think of like this, the rudder kind of points the boat in the direction. So if it's a little left, then the boat goes left. If it's a little right, then the boat goes right. And so the same goes for how you treat your morning. If you treat it rushing, checking stressful messages, reacting to other people, that's going to kind of be how your day is, very reactive. But when you start it with intention, reflection, and something that can center you around the business or what it is you're trying to accomplish for the day, then you put yourself in creation mode, in intention mode. So what momentum is we call it a daily operating system. So for lack of better words, what it does is it sets the intention for your day. So we've got the Monday through Friday, which most of the people on this call experience, the Monday through Friday, 9 to 9:30 Mountain Time, daily growth. We also have the Wednesday weekly live coaching / training. So sometimes it's training based, sometimes it's coaching based. Sometimes we go over calls, sometimes we live coach. And then we've got the 12 modules. You're experiencing one today, which is going to be the prospecting for sellers module. And then when you're a part of this group, you get 4 digital courses per year. They're typically $300 a piece. We release a coupon code. You get it for free for the quarter. And then obviously just the daily intention and growth together. I think that's the fringe benefit of being a part of this. So that's the operating system that we use to become better human beings and better real estate agents. And as a group, I think it does the same for everybody.
Okay. Well, that's enough of that, man. Let's get into content. So here's the deal. Why becoming a listing agent is important. I'll tell you why people don't become listing agents for a long time in this business, because listings are scary. And, you typically have to interview for a listing, whereas buyers, oftentimes you're not being interviewed. And I think a lot of sellers, feel like they're writing you a check personally the day they hire you, and for the entire commission, whether it's half or not, is irrelevant. So I think that pressure gets to agents, and I think a lot of agents don't want rejection, which is why they don't call, Brent. Right? I mean, this is why agents struggle making phone calls. So it's easier. If buying's fun, selling's stressful, all the stuff, so
sellers listings traditionally come with more hard conversations, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You have like buyers a lot of times, when you're a new agent, you're dealing with first-time home buyers. They don't know that maybe they should interview multiple agents. They don't know any agents, or they know a few people, but maybe they don't have a relationship. But the seller, anyone who's selling, has probably worked with an agent already. So there's some competition there potentially. And, and they want to ask questions. Maybe they got burnt on their first relationship. So the only reason you'd be scared of those if you don't know what to say, right? Like you and I've talked about this a lot in our momentum. This is a theme that comes throughout, is like confidence comes with competence. And if you know what to say, like a lot of times the scary just goes away. What buyers require is, when you're dealing with buyers, like, why not just deal with buyers? Because they're easier and it's fun, and maybe they're not going to be as critical of what I do and how I do it. Well, buyers require you to show homes, right? You're going to be driving a lot of different places. You're typically going to be working nights and weekends, right? Because most people work Monday through Friday. So if they want to look at homes, they typically are going to do that outside of their work schedule. You could be competing with other buyers on the same home, right? If you're representing the seller, you get the pick of the litter, right? But if you multiple offers on a seller situation are a good thing. If you're the buyer, you could sell 7 homes before you actually sell one, right? And
Wait,
then
wait, what do you mean by that? You could actually sell 7 homes before you sell one. Is it write an offer, miss out on it, have to find another house, and so on? Is that what you mean?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, the inspection issues, right? Like maybe you finally, I mean, dude, I had my record is 9 homes to one person. Now,
Wow.
some of that might have been a skill issue. Some of it was their budget. Their budget was just not in a position to be competitive. Some of it's like expectations, right? That's the skill piece. But I remember one person I sold like 6 homes. We finally got to the sixth one. We got accepted. We start to go through an inspection. Deal falls apart because of mold. So boom, back at it. Great news. And then of course buyers get cold feet, right? Sellers can get cold feet too, but tends to happen a little bit more often when you're dealing with the buy side, right?
Well, here's another piece of it too. Like with buyers, they can get cold feet, stay where they're at. They can get cold feet and just go ahead and rent. With sellers, they traditionally, if they get cold feet, they stay where they're at. There's only one thing. There's only one option. Buyers, there's multiple options with cold feet, right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but listings, why choose listings though?
Well, first of all, when you list a property, when you're a buyer's agent, you're trying to sell all the different listing agents' listings. You're working for the listing agent, if you think about it, right? Like imagine you were helping buyers just buy commerce in the real world and retail, and you go from store to store to store to store, and you're selling all the stuff. Would you rather do that, or would you rather be the store owner where people are bringing their buyers to you? That's the difference, right? You have thousands of agents in your market working to sell your listing.
Here's what I hear you saying is listings create leverage in your life.
100%. Yeah.
So what are different ways it can create leverage? Because it creates leverage by buyers having to come to you. What are other ways that you can see it creating leverage?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the marketing side, which I know, marketing is a big piece for you, Brent. It's one of the reasons you and I partnered, because you're very strong in the marketing world. So it generates business, right? So when you get a buyer, you can get more buyers from that buyer if you are actively asking for referrals and you're very strategic about it. But from the listing side, like you can get sign calls, you can get web leads, you can hold open houses. Obviously you can get agent referrals. Like there's all sorts of things that can come when you list a property.
Well, let's do this, man, because I think I'm sold why I would want to work with sellers instead of buyers. Let's talk about the 5 reasons why someone would want to either be a listing agent or would want to double down on being a listing agent.
Well, the first you kind of already brought up, right?
Yep,
Was leverage.
exactly.
So
Yep.
leverage is number one. What's the second?
The second is authority. And authority comes from signs in the ground, right? Authority comes from the marketing that you get to do. So when you take a listing, you're now casting out a web via social media, email, text for that listing. So it puts you in a position of authority through messaging and narrative. And then potential for presence in a neighborhood. So you become authoritative in a single area if you become intentional around that area. So here's what I mean by that is if you became an authority if you found a neighborhood, you wanted to become an authority, you could call every expired in that area, go to every FSBO, and you could even buy the market. Gary Keller talks about this. Could be, hey, I'm going to do it for 1% if it's in this neighborhood, only to get the market share. Once you gain the market share, then you move back to your typical. In other words, you create these loss leader opportunities where you're basically working for free, but you gain the authority in the area. It's the same as paying for marketing pieces and sending it to that area and reducing your overall income by paying for marketing. So authority would be number 2. In my book.
Perfect. Yeah. And everyone can think, I mean, even think of your market right now, like there's probably, when I say who's the authority from a listing perspective, you probably can think of like 1 or 2 agents right away. That's what we're talking about. All right. So the third one is consistent lead generation. So we've already kind of hit on this from a leverage standpoint, but you got inbound calls, online inquiries, you have showing requests, open house traffics, all of these are coming because someone chose to list the property. So when you take that listing, you put your sign in the yard, you put it out, in the MLS, and you syndicate it through all the websites, and then you market it through your, strategically through social media and your email list and other avenues. That starts to generate business that you could not have generated without the listing.
Well, think about this too. We talk about this all the time. When you're calculating your goals, if you calculate how many listings you need, we already know how many buyers you're going to get. Why is that? We already know a percentage of buyers that you're going to get.
Yeah, I think the number is 70% of sellers buy. And that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to buy in your area. And this is area specific. So if you're representing a seller in a vacation area, the likelihood of them being a buyer in the vacation area is pretty low, probably like 10 or 20%. But in a normal area, you're probably going to be like 50% that they're going to buy in your area. So if you get if you want to sell 20 listings and represent 10 buyers, like just focus on the listings because you're going to get 10 buyers from that.
Got it. So that also creates the consistent lead generation, right?
Correct.
It multiplies on itself. If I go get 10 buyers, I have 10 buyers. If I go get 10 listings, I have 15 transactions. That's what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if you handle it correctly, you take care of them and do the right things. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Perfect.
What other lead generation mechanisms or processes are there that maybe are outside the box that people aren't thinking about? So I'll give you an example of one.
Yeah, go for it.
Deal of the week, right? So if you're a listing agent, now if you're any agent, you can do deal of the week. But if you want to come from authority, you can do deal of the week. And here's my listing for the week that I'm, that's the current deal. So that's an out of the box way that you could leverage your listing to generate more leads.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that you can do that, right? I mean, the behind the scenes thing, right? Like, oh, there's a photo shoot today at my newest listing. Like, here's behind the scenes. I mean, there's lots of things you can do that, if it's not your listing, it's going to be really difficult. So, yeah. So what's number 4?
Number 4 is control of the transaction. So this we could unpack for a really long time because it's control via the time that you can put in, or the time that you put into a listing, but also choosing the time in which you put into that listing. Here's what I mean by that. Through strategic positioning, not reviewing any offers until Monday. So if you put that in the description, then you're not accepting or reviewing offers throughout the weekend. I know listing agents that take only listing appointments in their office, and they take them between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. so they can control their schedule that way. So here's the reverse with buyers. I think that we've all experienced this if you work with buyers long enough, is when a listing comes on and it's the one they want, it doesn't matter what time it is for the most part. Like they want to talk about it, text about it, try to go see it as soon as possible.
Yes.
So you are at the mercy of their time. With a seller, you control the time in which you meet people, in which you negotiate, all the things that are associated with a listing. You're controlling the time. Not to mention the amount of time that a listing takes in comparison to a buyer. What is that number, Chase?
Oh, I mean, the number is somewhere in the 2.5 to 3x is more time on working with a buyer than versus representing a seller. So a lot of I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand how much more time is involved. When you start showing you lead gen to find a buyer and a seller. Let's say it takes the same amount of time, right? Then you do a consultation. Let's say that takes the same amount of time. And then, you're coordinating sign, listing, photos, whatever. On the buy side, you're showing, right? And you're showing and you're showing and you're showing, and maybe write an offer. And you might have to do that multiple times, right? Maybe. I'm not real sure, right? Like if a deal falls apart on the listing side, like you don't go back and show, you just remarket the property and someone else shows it. But if it falls apart on the buy side, you're going to have to do all that showing again. Then, of course, you got to let the home inspector in. You need to let grandma in. You need to, you have all sorts of things. When you map this out, and we can do that another time if you're interested, just request it of us. But when you start to map this stuff out, you recognize that it's about 2.5 to 3 times as many hours to work a listing than it is as a buyer. Now, one last thing. This is like newer today. We've all seen this clear cooperation thing being challenged inside of, National Association of Realtors and the MLSs. And what it basically says is that if you're going to market a property, you have to give everyone the opportunity to see it, and the MLS is the path for that, right? The MLS syndicates out to the large portals like Zillow and Realtor.com and all those, right? So what's my point? Right now, there's an arm wrestle going on, and I'll just mention the biggest players: Compass Realty, who just bought Anywhere Real Estate to become the largest real estate brokerage on the planet, 210,000 agents or so. They want to be able to market properties without putting them on the MLS. Well, Zillow's kind of drawing a line in the sand and say, hey, if you market it before you put it on the MLS, if you market it, we won't allow you to put it on Zillow. So they're kind of in this tug of war. So they've recently, just a week ago, they just signed a deal with Redfin that will allow them to market their properties on Redfin, even if they pre-market them. So what's the point in all this? Like, I don't know how all this is going to shake out. And I don't think anyone really does. I've met with some key leaders in our business. They don't know how it's going to shake out. But what we do know is that if you want to secure yourself in this business and not be worried about what's happening outside, you want to control the listing, right? Because when you get those listings signed, you get to determine how they're marketed, and it doesn't really matter what anyone else is doing. So if I had a choice between working buyers and working sellers, like let's say you're working buyers and all of a sudden 30 or 40% of the listings aren't even on the market anymore. How is that going to impact your business? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's what's at stake here. So I would be very, very cautious of.
Well, and you almost want to follow the lead of these. I mean, they're not dumb, right? That what they're doing is they're trying to control the listing inventory. So from a micro scale, that's exactly what you should be doing, is trying to control your listing inventory in your market, which I think kind of tees up the very last one.
It does perfectly.
Long-term business stability.
Yep. Yeah. So
a listing business is predictable. That's basically what.
Yeah. And when I got into this is 21 years ago, Brent, I already mentioned this. So 20 and a half or whatever. The saying was, those that list last.
Okay.
Right. Because, and think about that. If it takes 2.5 to 3 times as much time to help a buyer versus a seller, then burnout is probably more likely to happen to buyer's agents than it is to listing agents. Right. And if you start to think about it, like listing agents, do they have to work nights and weekends? Not as much, right? You're not going to call at 9 p.m. saying, hey, I want to go tour this house in the morning, and I wanted to call you right away to see if we could do that. Like, that stuff doesn't happen, and with proper expectations, listing agents can have a predictable schedule, right? Monday through Friday, and you can tee up how you're going to handle offers over the weekends. We have strategies to help people with that. And buyer's agents are like, hey man, if a listing pops up in your buyer's criteria, especially in a hot market, like you got to go get out there right away. So burnout is very realistic, but then of course you have, think about the average price of a listing agent. It's probably a little higher than a buyer's agent. Why would that be? Because most of those sellers who are now buyers, what are they doing, Brent? They're moving up.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I was like, I think I know.
So it's all right. If they sell their home, so let's say they were a first-time home buyer. Well, now they're not a first-time home buyer. Now they're going to be a move-up buyer. So they're probably going to spend even more money. So our average sales price of a listing agent is generally going to be higher than an average sales price of a buyer's agent.
Well, everybody on this call, I guarantee you, if we broke apart their business and we said, what's your average price point on buyers and what's your average price point on sellers, they would all say their average price point on sellers is higher because there's just the move up is natural. It just happens.
Yeah, the move up's natural, and then of course, people who own real estate already typically have a higher net worth, and they can usually spend more money too. So, well, I guess let's go into like, now what? Now that we know we want to be a listing agent, like what should we do?
I'm sold. Like I'm sold. I want to be a listing agent. So
show up the next 4 days. That's my first piece of advice, because we're going to be actually getting into the tactics. So each day we're going to be getting into like tomorrow's programs. Tomorrow's probably the most critical one. If you want to have an edge over other agents in your area. I mean, I don't know the percentage of agents that have programs, Brent, but anecdotally,
very low.
Yeah. What would you say? Like 1 in 10 has a program to offer?
I would say, yeah, it's probably pretty close. It
So,
might even be lower than that, but
and
yeah.
if you don't even know what we're talking about with the program, then you definitely want to show up. And if you do know what we're talking about, then you want to show up to figure out how you can plus the programs you have.
Well, and here's the biggest thing. If you want to stop having the reduced compensation conversation, programs is the way to do it. You have to formulate a plan around how you present stuff to your sellers to protect your value and also show your value at the same time.
And I think there's one more very simple. You and I are big in one of the series we have and the classes we teach around the country is little lift, big shift. And the whole idea is what's something I'm already doing, but I could actually change it and I would get better results. That's essentially what little lift, big shift is. So one of the things that I think this goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about, Brent, where I was like, hey, people are afraid of listings because they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it, etc. So when you are afraid of something, or maybe you lack confidence in it, you avoid it. So if you're avoiding listings, what are you talking about all the time, Brent? If you're in real estate, helping people buy.
Yep.
Right. So a little lift would be, how can I have more conversations about helping people sell? You know, because when we talk about, I'm just going to go back to the authority. When we talk about the authorities in your area, do you think they have more buyer conversations or seller conversations? And do you think they just have more seller conversations because like they're just lucky, or do you think it's just what they focus on?
It's 100% what they focus on.
It is. So then think about all the forms of communication that you have, the conversations you have when someone says, "Hey, Brent, how's the market?" Like, are you asking? Are you talking about buyers? Are you talking about sellers? Are you even talking about either one of those things?
But you could go to FSBOs and one of your strategy.
You know, are you just saying good and then walking away, or what? Right? How do you get what kind of and maybe you could tease some of that up, like, or I know we got to land the plane here, but like, is there anything I'm missing on having communication around sellers? Is there any little lift you can think of, Brent?
Well, we talk about it all the time. The best little lift you can have is everybody, and you already alluded to it. Everybody hears this all the time. How's the market? So you're already there and you're already having that conversation. That's going to happen. So the little lift is just changing what you say, and what you say should guide you towards more listing opportunities. So what that would look like is Chase asked me, how's the market? Oh, it's great. It's funny you're asking, Chase, because I actually have a ton of buyers that are looking. I promised I'd do anything I could to find it, a property for them. We've seen everything on the MLS. Have you heard any rumors of anybody that's looking to sell that I might be able to connect with my buyers? Like, what if you said that every single time someone said, how's the market? Does that increase or decrease your odds of finding a listing? That's the,
yeah.
I mean, that's
it's
the
going to
reality.
increase, right?
It's going to increase naturally, right? You're going to find someone that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, so-and-so was talking about selling. And by the way, I use the word rumor because people love to gossip. So when you lean in and say, hey, do you have heard any rumors of people wanting to sell? It just changes the whole transaction of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And our minds are we're very good at like figuring specific problems out, you know, generic things like, do you know anyone looking to buy or sell? And we're like, no. But if I'm like, hey, have you heard any rumors of anyone looking to sell? They'll be like, actually, right? Like that's our brain can pick that up. So, okay. Well, I'm convinced I want to list homes, and I hope you are too. And honestly, if you're walking away being like, yeah, that's good, I want to list homes, then just make the choice. I'm going to be a listing agent, and, you know, show up the rest of this week and figure out how you can plus becoming a listing agent. And this could be the moment that changes your career trajectory. That would be my wish for you.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about programs tomorrow. And actually, Chase, I'm really excited because you presented some programs that this other agent uses that I think are phenomenal. They're even new to me. So I can't wait to talk about them tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Real Estate Growth Network podcast, where we dig into real estate topics.
And we put these out every single week, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
See you later.